speakers so far. And when Charlie made the statement that 20 or 30 years ago it was a much different world, I can tell you it was. Because 20, 30 years ago was when I, in desperation, looked for a day job and landed a job at Reproductive Health, thinking I was going to help women become pregnant, only to be told that I was going to talk about sex with youth. The reason it was called reproductive health? Nobody could say the word sex. Say it.
Sex.
Yes, all right. We can even see sex now. A lot of it. And that's my concern. We can see a lot of sex and sexuality anytime we want. We've always been able to access it in magazines, in videos, at the movies, but it's even more readily available now. I have a friend in Australia. I was asking a few people what I should talk about tonight. She wrote me from Australia and she said, talk about the need for a quick fix. That when we look at the videos and the pornography and the sexuality on the internet and other social media, what are we experiencing? It becomes second nature. But there's a lot of issues besides that. There's internet dating. There are whole relationships that happen over the internet with youth, and they never even meet each other. And I've spent hours counseling them over a breakup of somebody they haven't even physically seen or talked to. When I was getting ready for tonight, I thought about my own life and how I didn't even know the male anatomy when I went into nursing school, for heaven's sake. So I wanted to share with you a little story to kind of help people relax and think about their own issues around being able to talk with your own partner, your own youth, about such an intimate subject. Have you ever made a fool of yourself? Anybody here? This is exactly what I did. I was in a training program, and the instructor who was doing the training at my place of business said to me, would you put 8 or 10 articles, objects, on a table, and we'll use them tomorrow morning? I said, what kind of objects do you want? He said, any object at all. Really? He said, yeah, anything, as long as they're interested. In my wisdom, I thought, I have the perfect article. This is a plastic vagina. I set this on the table. Now there's a part of me that's a little quirky, and there's a part of me that likes to see how people behave when there's something new in front of them. And I said to myself, will anybody pick it up? I didn't know what we were going to do with the items. So as it's sitting on the table, I'm waiting to see what we're going to do with these. And I guessed right, not one soul picked it up. Guess who picked it up? I did. Guess what happened next? We had to write a story as if we were it. Would you like to hear the story? This is my vagina, my plastic vagina, telling you about its journey with me as a sexual health nurse. Did you ever wonder what a woman's reproductive anatomy looks like? You see, I'm hidden from external eyes. To see me, you'd have to go inside. In the early 1980s, I was born so the inside could be made visible to the outside. It was during these years that I met sexual health nurse Maureen McIntosh. Maureen found great uses for me. She proudly displayed me in her office so everyone could see. She even took me on road trips. I traveled all over New Brunswick, PI, and Nova Scotia. She even took me to the USA on occasion. We had a lot of fun together. She would show me to everyone and anyone who wanted to see me. Teenagers were my favorites. They had so many questions and I loved them. I enjoyed it immensely when Maureen would take one side off me and show how my egg could travel down from the ovary down the tubes into my uterus. Sometimes adults would be embarrassed and did not like it when she showed me off. One time, many years ago, a school teacher, using a very stern voice, told Maureen, "Put that thing away." I was insulted. Maureen refused, and I was so proud of her. Then Maureen decided to move on. I was scared that I would be left behind. Oh no, I thought, I'll miss her a great deal. Then one day when she was packing up, she looked at me and said, "You've been my vagina a very long time, you're coming with me." I had chills, and I got really excited. What will life be like now? Today I'm semi-retired. I'm not sitting on an open shelf anymore. I'm resting in the closet. Now when the closet door opens, I hold my breath, hoping she will take me out, because I know I'm in for a very interesting showing. You see, Maureen works with adults now, and I'm always surprised by how interested they are in learning about themselves. One day, Maureen explained the female anatomy to a grown woman, and she cried because no one had ever shown her before. It was at that moment that I knew that Maureen and I would always be a team. You see, I love to help others learn what's really inside. I love talking about sex, but I also love talking about relationships. I was invited into a school classroom to talk to 17-year-olds. The teacher said, "Would you just come in and talk about choosing a quality, loving sexual relationship?" "Sure," I said. So I'm standing in front of the classroom, and I'm explaining some of the tools and some of the ideas that I learned from my long-term mentor, teacher, and friend, Dr. William Glasser, world-renowned psychiatrist. He taught me a few things about relationships. He taught me that we're driven from within to satisfy 5 basic needs. The need for love and belonging, a sense that we love when we belong somewhere. The need for power, a sense that we have control over our own lives. And power comes in 3 forms: power over, power with, and personal power. The need for fun, the need for freedom, freedom to be able to make choices, to choose to do something, choose not to do something. And the need to survive. Food, water, air, and sex drive. Even Dr. Glasser called it reproduction. I call it sex drive. We're born with it. I'm in the classroom and I'm talking with the youth. You know, as parents, our teenagers need a lot of love and belonging. And they join packs and they group date when they first start out. And they go out in groups. And what do we do as parents? I wonder what they're getting into. I'd like to suggest that we share everything we can about our beliefs and values around sex and sexuality before that happens. There's a young man here, he told me he's 12 years old. Perfect time. The need for freedom. Teenagers are striving for independence. Just at a time when we as parents want to do what? Control them more. We're afraid to let them out there. There's too many things out there to hurt them. Yet, that's their role, is to begin to break away from their parents so that they can learn to live in the real world. I'm explaining this to the youth. I added in a few questions for them to think about. Love and belonging. Do I feel like I'm loved and I belong with this person? That they care about me no matter what? Or are there conditions to it? Do I feel powerful with this person? Respected? Understood? Do I feel in control of my own life? Do they feel the same way? Or are they giving me a cell phone so they know where I am every minute of the day? The need for fun. Do we play together? Do we laugh together? Or do we each go our separate way? And fun isn't part of the equation. Freedom. Are we free to make some of the choices about what we choose to do? And free not to make other choices. And the big important one for me is the freedom inside. of all the turmoil that goes on inside. And believe it or not, just like adults, teenagers have a lot of stuff going on in their heads. And they're dealing with a lot of issues on a daily basis. And as parents, if we can help them clear up the whole issue around sexuality and relationships, it would be a really big help. I'm explaining the needs again to this classroom. And I decided to save the survival need till last. And I talked about survival because it has a sex drive in it. And I talked about the sex drive as the most powerful biological urge that we possess. And I asked if they knew how to take control of it. Of course, the answer is no. They didn't have a clue what I was talking about. So I took my sports car out, and I started to teach them something called total behavior. When you're feeling turned on, you can't help that feeling. When you have vaginal secretions, erections, whoops, you can't help that either. But you do have more control over your thoughts and your actions. And when you drive your own car, if you turn the front wheels, what happens to them? They turn. So the back wheels have the feeling and physiology on them because they just kind of follow. This is why it's imperative that our youth have enough information to be able to make good decisions and become consciously aware that they can do something about the sexual urge. They can choose how they're going to deal with that sexual urge. I'm putting my car down, and suddenly a young woman in the middle of the class jumps up and she says, "I'm mad!" Really? I looked at her, I looked at the teacher. He said, "You deal with it." Right. So I looked at her again. I said, "Tell me more. What are you upset about? What are you mad at? Why the heck didn't somebody teach me this stuff before?" And I said, "Really? You're in grade 11, grade 12 right now? When would you have liked to have learned it?" "Oh, about grade 7, she said. No, wait. Grade 8. Grade 8 would have been perfect." I looked at her and I said, "Had you learned these ideas in grade 8, what would be different for you today?" You could have heard a pin drop in that class. She looked at me, she looked around the room, and she said, "My whole life." Ladies and gentlemen, let's not be like a closed parachute. You know, it doesn't work if it's not open. Let our minds open like a parachute does, so that we can help our youth enjoy their sex life, enjoy their relationships, and have some control, all control, over the decisions they make when it comes to sex and sexuality.